possibly be the first mom to figure out that if you are a member of a gym that provides childcare with your membership, that you have access to a shower hot at your own pace, getting dressed, doing your hair the way you want it, slapping on a little makeup if you want, all while your child is in capable hands. Now, I figured this out 5 years ago when my oldest was just an infant, so he couldn't walk, talk, move, do anything by himself. These days, trying to get out of the house to go somewhere looks a little more like this. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. So trying to get out of the house to go to the gym inevitably results in forgetting something really important for getting ready, like deodorant, shampoo. You get the point. So I had this brilliant idea. I'll whip myself up a little zipper bag and stuff it full of travel size versions of the toiletries that I use, and that way I don't have to try to gather my own stuff before I go to the gym. I'll just always have something there ready in my gym bag. So today I'm going to quickly walk you through the steps of making my In the Hoop zipper bag. It's actually In the Hoop zipper bag 2. It's the one with the zipper right down the middle, and it's got no exposed seams on the inside. So the first thing you need to do is go to designsbylittlebee.etsy.com and grab that design to work with. I'll put the link right under the video so you can see exactly where it is. Now once you download the folder, unzip it and look inside. There's a PDF instruction sheet, and that will tell you exactly the materials you'll need to get started. So I've already got mine loaded up into my machine. I didn't add a name or monogram or anything to it. I'm doing it exactly as it comes to you right out of the folder. So let's get started. Now the first note I want to make is that I am using the 5x7 design. I just realized when I started setting up that I don't have any zippers long enough to make the size I want to make, which is 6x10. So I'm going to go ahead and just run a 5x7 real quick to show you a demonstration. I've got all of my thread set to black. It's easy to do and it's easy to see on the video. So the first thing you do is run the first step, which will be a placement for the zipper in your design. The next step is to place your zipper right between those black lines, or whatever, your thread lines. Sometimes I call them highway lines, because you know, it looks like a little highway. So you want to place your zipper where the edges of your zipper are touching the lines. And you can use a couple of pieces of tape to secure the zipper to either end. And run the next step, which will tack your zipper down right there between those lines. Now the next two steps on this particular bag are super easy because they're the same exact step, except one goes on the bottom and one goes on the top. So I guess depending on how you've turned your design, I do mine to where the bottom goes first, just so I know what to expect. I can see it on my screen that it's going to do this side. Now, you take your piece of fabric, one of your front pieces, it's folded in half and pressed long ways like a hot dog bun with wrong sides together, and you want to put it fold facing the zipper like this. So you take that and you can pin it down, you can tape the edges, whatever you do, make sure if you do pin, make sure you're not pinning on the inside of the stitch path. I could pin way over here and way over here. I'm going to make them way, 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 way out to the edges to make darn sure that I do not run over one of the points of those pins. Boy, that would make a terrible sound. Okay, so I've got it pinned down nice and neatly. And now I'm going to run the step for the first half of the front. It's going to go all the way around, and then it's going to do a nice beam stitch again to secure the side that goes to the zipper, since that's going to get a lot of use. Now whatever you use to secure that side of your bag, make sure to remove that now. Especially if it's pins. You don't want a bunch of pins lingering around, because then when you try to turn your bag, ouch. So the next step is super easy. It is just the other half of the front. So again, take your longer front piece, fold it in half, long ways like a hot dog bun, wrong sides together. Take the edge that's pressed and place it against the zipper, kind of like against the teeth. And pin if you'd like, tape if you'd like. Just make sure you stay out of that stitch path. And then you're going to run that step, which will do exactly the same thing as the last step. Now this part is very, 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 very important, okay? If you don't pay attention to anything else, please pay attention to this step. You want to grab the pull of your zipper and bring it inside the bag. You are finished with stitching near the zipper, and you need that zipper to be inside your bag. If you do not do that, if you forget, then you will now start stitching the zipper pull outside of the bag, and guess what? You won't be able to open the zipper. So do that right now. Take your zipper pull and bring it maybe a third of the way in, because you are going to be stitching right here on the edge. So you just want the zipper pull out of the way. Just out of the way, out of your stitch path. The next step, and you don't have to do this, but if you'd like to stitch down a little piece of ribbon or fold over elastic, this is the step where you do that. First, take your ribbon or elastic, fold it in half. And remember this very important part of the project. When you're placing things that are going to come out of the bag, like a handle or straps or anything like that, when you first stitch them, they need to be facing the inside of the bag. Go with me now. Do you remember those stuffed animals called popples in the 80s where it was like a stuffed animal, it was like a ball, and then you would flip it and the arms and legs and the head would come out? Okay, that's what this is kind of like. You're going to have all of your little accessories and add-ons and doodads on the inside of the bag, and then when you flip it inside out, they'll all pop out. So I'm going to take my piece, you see my little piece of ribbon, I'm using like a little chevron ribbon, got it at Walmart. It's like a cool woven material, I really like using this. And I'm going to place it like this with the fold going inside the bag. See that? My little fold is going inside the bag. And then I'm going to take, I like to use a piece of tape on this because it's easy and you only need it on there for a second. So I take my piece of tape and I'm going to just tape that sucker down. Da, da, da. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to work. Okay, so now that's taped down. And then you run the next step, which will give you just a quick little line to tack your ribbon or elastic down to your bag. Now when that's done, you can remove your tape or your pin. And now we're moving on to the last two steps. First, you want to take the piece of fabric that's going to be the back of your bag, and you want to lay it on top. Now listen to me, that's the back of your bag. Like if you flip it over, that's the fabric. So you want to take that piece and you want to lay it on top of your bag, and you need it to go face down, okay? Face down. This is just like many other in the hoop projects. It's going to be face down, and then you're going to flip it and it's going to be right. So this is pretty easy to pin because you can already see where your bag is going to go, your lines. So I'm going to bring my hoop out like this, and I can see where my lines are around the edge of my bag, so I can make sure I don't pin anywhere near those when I'm using my pins this time. So I'm going to pin just 4 corners, because this is just going to do 1 stitch all the way around to secure the back of your zipper bag. So this step will stitch a quick run all the way around the edge of your bag to secure that back piece. Now I'm going to remove my pins now, and I want to make a note. If you notice, those of you who are afraid of using zippers with your embroidery machine, you guys, I didn't even slow my machine down. I'm going 800 stitches per minute, and I didn't even slow it down, and it went right over those zippers. Please don't be afraid of zippers. Now make sure you don't get the kind with metal teeth. Please don't do that. But you don't have to be afraid of zippers. Zippers are fun and easy to use, and your machine knows how to handle them. So don't be afraid. Now the next step might be a little tricky. You need to take your hoop off of your machine, but don't unhoop your project. Just take the hoop off. Now take your hoop over to your nice flat surface and flip it over. And you want to place your fabric that's going to be the lining. That is, when you unzip the bag, you'll see the back lining. And you're going to place it right side down onto your project, onto the underside of your hoop. I like to think of in the hoop projects like this as like a sandwich. You want all the ingredients, that's the right sides, you want all of those facing the inside like a sandwich. You wouldn't want your mustard on the bottom. I do not like to have sharp things like pins or the little balls of my pins facing my machine. So what I like to do at this stage in the project is I tape my fabric down the way that I want it. I'm making sure that all the dots line up nicely. And I like to only pin from the top. I don't like to pin from the bottom. I don't like the bottom of pins sticking out in my machine. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if like super embroidery professionals would even give that a second thought, but it's the way I like to do it. I like to only pin from the top. So that's the way I do it. You could even really just leave the tape there if you wanted to just tape it. You know, do whatever works for you. Experiment with different ways. I'm not the embroidery police. I don't make the laws of embroidery. I'm not going to come confiscate your machine because you did not follow the tutorial exactly how I did it. You are more than welcome to do it however works best for you. So, I got my pins in. I'm just going to leave the tape there. See, the tops of my pins, the balls and the sharp points are on the top. So now I'm going to take this and place it back in my machine, and we'll be ready to do the next step. Now the interesting thing about this particular bag is that it doesn't matter which way you put the hoop back in. Do you know what I'm saying? It's going to have a small hole like 2 inches wide on one edge for turning the bag inside out. That's how you get no exposed seams. But it doesn't really matter which side it's on. So with this particular bag where it's symmetrical, it doesn't matter. So I just put my hoop back on there. I don't know if this is the way I had it earlier, and I don't really care. I'm going to run the last step, which will do a nice secure bean stitch around the edge of the whole bag, except for that couple of inches of space that you will use to turn it inside out. Once that step is finished, you're done. You can remove your hoop from your machine and take your project out of the hoop. Now I've got my project out of the hoop, and it looks something like this. And now you're going to cut, oh, I removed my pins. And now you're going to cut around the edges of your project. And I will give you a little tip. I like to leave a little tab at the hole where you're going to turn your project inside out. If you'll see in the lining side, you've got that space where it didn't stitch. I like to leave a little, I call it a tab. And you want to leave, maybe, what is that, 1/4 inch, 1/3 inch at the edge of your project. You can cut right over that zipper. I think you'll agree, the machine part of this project is like the easiest part. The harder parts of the project are cutting it properly, getting your fabric all ready, turning it inside out. The machine part is the easiest part. For people who are afraid of working with zippers, that's the easy part. This part is like the tedious part. Okay, so now you'll see what I mean when I say I leave a little tab at the turning spot right there. Okay, so now what you want to do is find the hole to the inside of your project, and you want to turn your project inside out and be, you know, a little gentle. I like to tear a little stabilizer off of it. Be gentle with it. Don't yank. You can use a lot of different tools. I like to go through the bag with my thumb, find the opposite corner from where my my turning hole is, and I like to pull that through. Now when you're done with this step, you do want to have something to push the corners out with to make sure they're pushed all the way out before you do the next step. Maybe it's a chopstick. You don't want anything sharp, obviously, because you don't want to poke a hole in your project. I have really small fingers, so I just usually use my fingers. Okay, so now I've got my 4 corners all turned, and your project is starting to take shape. Look at that. Okay, so now you want to grab your stabilizer and tear it away from your project. And the next step is for you to close the hole that you used for turning however you like to do it. If you're a hand stitcher and you like to do a quick little like whip stitch in there to close that hole, you can. I hate sewing. I especially hate sewing by hand. I consider it like torture. So I don't like to do that. And another interesting thing about this step is that whatever you do to close this turning hole right here is going to be hidden on the inside of your bag. This is the lining of your bag. So whatever you do to close it is going to be hidden inside. This, ta-da! It's called Peel and Stick Fabric Fuse. It's basically kind of like a very super sticky, so sticky, it's annoying double-sided tape for fabric. And so I pull out my little tab. I place my piece of fabric fuse right on the tab. Mash it down so it's nice and smashed on there. And then you pull the tab, you pull the paper away from the tape. And then you stick that tab inside your bag, and if you can rescue your fingers out from it. So basically all I did was the extremely lazy way of closing that hole. See? And I'm comfortable doing this because it's going to be on the inside. You're not even going to see it. You are almost done. This is the last thing you got to do. Find your zipper pull and wiggle it open. All the way open like that. And turn your bag inside out. This is the last step. Unless you want to press it. That's another good step to take. And you'll see now what I mean by that turning hole. It's going inside. It's hidden. You can't even see it. So don't worry if you didn't do the best job sewing. There we go. Check out my little zipper bag. And I made mine with Mickey Mouse fabric. All the fabric I used today, and the little ribbon too, I got at Walmart. These were all little fat quarters. So there you go. Your zipper bag is complete. And once you do these a lot, once you do one or two, you'll be zipping through them in no time. Pun intended. I hope this video has been helpful for you. I'll put links to some important things like this design and my Facebook group and my website down below the video. And as always, I will chat with you in my group, and I'll see you next time. Bye.